We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
Taal volcano could spew lava and ash for weeks, according to authorities, leaving thousands in limbo after they fled their homes, fearing a massive eruption.
A climate scientist at the University of New South Wales says she is not surprised by the bushfires that have ripped through Australia's southeast.
The World Health Organization is working with officials in Thailand and China following the reported confirmation of a new strain of coronavirus in a person in Thailand.
And a French Catholic priest accused of abusing dozens of Boy Scouts over 20 years has gone on trial.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. After more than 40 years of relative peace and quiet, Taal volcano, one of the smallest in the world, dramatically burst with activity on Sunday, shooting a massive column of ash kilometers into the sky that then rained down on the region. Many residents abandoned livestock and pets, as well as homes full of belongings, after authorities sounded an alert warning that an explosive eruption could come imminently.
Siyempre, yung mga pagkain namin, mahirap kumilos eh. Sasakyan, di magamit. Tubal na tubal, ang salamin. Hirap maglinis, walang tubig. Lahat na halos, problema. Tapos yan, oh. Yung bulkan natin, umuusok na naman.
Pagpunta ko namin doon, sir, marami na akong luksong bahay. Tsaka maya na akong disyerto. Sa kapalo ng putik. Tsaka pati yung mga alagang isda, ubos na ho. Ay, siyempre, sir, takot. Taranta.
Ano naisip nyo?
Ay, di siyempre may salbaw ang buhay.
Ay, yung mga gamit nyo?
Yun nga ho, sir. Ubos ang aming kabuhayan, walang natira.
The crater of the volcano exploded to life with towering clouds of ash and jets of red-hot lava on Sunday, forcing those living around the mountain south of Manila to flee to safety. Since March last year, the volcano had been showing signs of moderate to high-level seismic activity. Nearly 500,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate immediately, believing another much larger eruption and possible tsunami could be imminent. Some 30,000 are currently in shelters. As ash blanketed the towns, the province of Batangas was forced to declare a state of calamity. Renato Solidum, head of the Philippine Seismological Society, or agency, said Taal's previous eruptions have gone on for as long as months, so it was possible to predict an end to the current activity. However, he said the alert warning of a potentially catastrophic explosive eruption may still remain in place for weeks, depending on developments. Earlier, Yusek Solidum gave this update. Let's listen in.
Sa nakalipas na 24 na oras, patuloy ang pagsabog ng Taal Volcano na nakakitaan natin ng dalawang activity. Una, paglabas ng lava na may lava fountaining. At pangalawa, yung interaction ng magma at tubig kung saan nagkakaroon tayo ng hydrovolcanic activity na nagdudulot ng pagsabog na may taas na 2 kilometro at ang abo ay napapadpad west and southwest ng Taal Volcano. Sa kasalukuyan, nangyari pa yon. Pero habang nagkakaroon ng pagsabog sa ibabaw, patuloy ang pagkakaroon ng mga lindol na significantly malalakas na nakita nating nagsimula nung linggo ng gabi. Kaya nga natin itinaas ang alert level number 4. Ang ibig sabihin ng mga pagyanig ay merong umaakyat na magma papunta sa ibabaw at kasabay ng pagyanig ay namataan din natin na nakakakita tayo ng mga reports na mga fissuring sa iba't ibang bayan dyan sa paligid ng Taal Volcano at ito ay associated most likely sa pag-angat ng magma Kaya nagdudulot ng pressure sa mga bitak o faults or fissures na nagtitrigger ng earthquake at nagdudulot din ng pagkakaroon ng bitak. Sumatotal, yung nakikita natin sa ibabaw ay isang aspeto lang ng volcanic activity ng Taal Volcano at meron pa ring papaakyat na magma. Ang bilis ng pag-akyat ng magma ay importante kung kailan talaga ito sasabog ng malakas at kung ito ay dahan-dahan ay kung ito ay mag-freeze. Sa ngayon, hindi natin nakitang tumitigil yung activities sa ilalim, patuloy pa rin yung lindol. Nananatiling nasa alert level number 4 ang kondisyon ng Taal Volcano na ibig sabihin ang mapanganib na explosive eruption or hazardous explosive eruption ay nananatili, posibleng mangyari sa loob ng mga oras o araw. Ang alert level number 5 po, na maraming kumakalat na nagtaas tayo ng alert level 5, ay hindi po yon itataas until magkaroon na ng mapanganib na explosive eruption. Ibig sabihin, ang alert level 5 ay reserved sa statement na nangyayari na yung binibigyan ng warning sa alert level number 4.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health says the consumption of fish from Taal Lake may lead to food poisoning. DOH Assistant Secretary Maria Francia Laksamana said people who eat fish from the lake which are possibly contaminated could experience stomach ache, vomiting, and diarrhea. Watch this.
Unang-una po talagang pinagbawal na. So definitely meron po tayong mga advisory na lahat po ng mga nanggagaling dyan sa area ng Taal at Batangas, dapat po talaga wala nang bibili. Kasi hindi po natin maaasahan yung safety ng ating mga mamamayan. Ngayon, kung halimbawa man, biglang nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na nakakain siya, o gusto niya talaga yung tawilis na galing ng Taal Lake, mayroon po tayong mga symptoms. Kung ano po yung mga symptoms na mararanasan ng ating mga naka-ingest ng galing dyan sa baka patay na ng mga isda, magkakaroon po yan ng mga sintomas kagaya ng pagsasakit ng tiyan, magsusuka, magtatae. Yun po yung mga gagamutin nating sintomas. Kung may masakit ang tiyan, bibigyan po natin ng mga antispasmodic. Yung mga nagtatae, bigyan po natin ng rehydration. Kasi pag nagtae po sila ng tuloy-tuloy, parang food poisoning yan na walang tigil yung pagtatae, walang tigil ang pagsusuka. Ang number 1 po na kailangan natin gawin is rehydrate natin yung ating mga pasyente. At bantayan po natin mabuti ang sitwasyon ng ating mga pasyente na naka-ingest ng mga namatay na isda or may sulfur or whatever chemicals or minerals na nandun po sa isda na na-ingest.
Meanwhile, the latest Department of Environment and Natural Resources data show that Metro Manila's air quality has improved Tuesday, a day after it reported that amounts of inhalable particulate matter 10 have surged to unhealthy levels in parts of the metro as Taal Volcano spewed plumes and ash. Now, the amount of particulate matter 10 or PM10 in these areas shot up as of 11 a.m. yesterday to levels that may pose danger to people who have health problems such as bronchitis, emphysema, or asthma. PM10 are particles with a diameter of 10 micrometers. And these particles are so fine that they're also called respirable particulate matter. The public is therefore advised to exercise caution when going outside and to wear masks and goggles for protection. Now, according to its air quality monitoring system, as of 2 p.m. today, it showed that in Pasig, the quality of air has improved with -1, Muntinlupa with -1. Good air quality was seen in Malabon with 16, North Caloocan with 15, Pasay Station 43, San Juan 3. Moderate to fair air quality was seen in Las Piñas with 53, Makati with 52, Mandaluyong 81, Marikina 77, Navotas with 56, Parañaque 66, Pateros with 60, Taguig 81. Assistant Secretary Maria Laksamana of the Philippine Department of Health also earlier said that residents in Metro Manila don't have to use N95 masks. She said surgical masks could suffice.
Yung N95 po talaga, it is really prescribed doon po sa mga areas na inalis natin doon sa mga areas na within the 14-kilometer radius. So sila po yung first line na dapat gumamit talaga ng N95. Pero po dito sa mga areas like Metro Manila, yung Region 3, yung mga areas po na nasabugan nga ng ashfall, pwede naman po tayong gumamit na not necessarily the N95, but we can use also the regular surgical mask. At mayroon pong tinatawag ngayon na isa pang klaseng mask, yung 4-ply. May mga ply-ply ho kasi yung mga mask na yon. Eh dito naman po, hindi naman po gaano katindi yung mga ashfall. So nagpanik lang ho talaga yung mga tao nung nagbilihan ng N95. Kaya nga po, sad to say that nagkawalaan ng stocks. Yung mga dapat nabibigyan ho natin ng N95, yun ang hindi na, yun ang nagkulang. Kaya nga po sana, pinakiusap po sana namin na yung mga dito sa atin sa Metro Manila, like yung example po kanina na mention po kanina yung saan papunta yung hangin. So, as of yesterday, di ba, papunta southwest. So, ang aalagaan natin ngayon at babantayan yung Laguna and Quezon po, ano?
Susunod na araw.
Yun. So, yun yung mga sa susunod na araw natin. Kailangan bantayan ho yun, lalo na't mayroon tayong forecast from Pag-asa. So, yung pong paggagamit ng mask, dito nga sa Metro Manila, pwede naman po tayong gumamit lang ng regular surgical mask. Kasi kung makikita naman po natin sa mga sasakyan natin, lalo po nung Sunday, talagang makita mo, nangitim talaga yung ibang mga sasakyan. Pero it's not really advisable to use that N95. Tsaka unang-una, it's very expensive.
The Philippine Red Cross says placing 2 layers of tissue paper inside a surgical mask can serve as an alternative as stores run out of N95 masks. Take a look. It says doing this improves the ability to filter tiny dust particles up to 75 to 90%, which is almost comparable to an N95 mask. According to the Department of Health, Filipinos can use medical or surgical masks, dust masks, or wet handkerchiefs as a substitute for the N95 respirators.
Meanwhile, authorities are still warning that the volcano could spew lava for weeks. And the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said the continuous restiveness of the Taal volcano and several new fissures cracking the ground nearby likely means magma is rising as well and may lead to further eruptive activity. The Taal volcano was spurting fountains of red-hot lava 800 meters into the sky, and the massive column of ash and volcanic debris at times flashed with streaks of lightning. Homes of people living nearby got covered in ash. Alert level 4, as said earlier, remains, and this means that an imminent hazardous eruption could happen in hours or days.
We need the cooperation of everyone. Yung scenario ng hazardous explosive eruption is a real scenario that has been exhibited by Taal volcano. And if we look at those scenarios, the impact is quite significant. So therefore, people need to be reminded that going inside the recommended evacuation zone is a risky business. And in reality, we need to focus on moving people away from the identified areas. As I have been mentioning, the mere fact that we are recording a lot of earthquakes and many fissures are now observed means that the area of Taal is really being pushed by the magma intrusion that would now be a possible source if ever this would reach the surface for a possible eruption, and hopefully it's not explosive, but based on past events, it becomes explosive. Yun lang po.
Okay.
Meanwhile, thousands of villagers in the Philippines are cramping in an emergency shelters as the volcano spews more lava and ash. Let's listen in to some of their reactions.
Malaki sir ang magiging epekto ng pagputok sir ng Taal. Lalo't pag nagtagal kami dito, mawawala na kami ng mga pambili na, lalo sa pagkain, pag-aaral ng bata, matitigil sila sir.
Marami po kami mga kagamit tayo iniwan po doon. lahat po ng kagamitan naroon po. Kami po ay umalis po sa bahay na andala po namin mga damit, ilang piraso lamang po dahil biglaan niya po pangyayari.
Pero mas mahirap din po kung nasa bahay lang kami kasi delikado din sa amin. No choice, kahit mahirap, kailangan pumunta dito para sa safety ng mga anak.
The volcano has people worried as it is a complex one with numerous eruption points that have changed with time rather than one vent. The unpredictable volcano has had around 35 eruptions in the last 100 years. The entire volcano island has been declared as a danger zone by PHIVOLCS, or the Philippine National Institution dedicated to providing information on the activities of volcanoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis. According to PHIVOLCS expert, there is a risk of a tsunami that could be caused by falling debris after an eruption, generating waves in the lake. The volcano began erupting and sending columns of ash and generating lava fountains.
Limited flight operations resumed mid-Monday at Manila's main international airport, nearly a day after authorities halted them due to the safety risk volcanic ash poses to planes. However, travelers booked on over 240 canceled flights still face delays at Ninoy Aquino International Airport. CAAP Director General Jim Sidyonko explained the handling of Manila's current airway situation following the volcanic explosion.
Hazardous to the flight. It could cause the engine to quit, you could damage the engine as well. At saka yung hangin ho na pumapasok sa makina at kino-convert into an air condition for ventilation at saka air conditioning. Malalanghap po yun ng pasahero. So, given those level of risk, it is best that we suspend operation. So, ang isang constraint dito, hindi ho nakikita ng radar yan. Kaya nung sapit ng gabi, ng dilim, sinuspend na natin yung lipad niyan. Pangalawa ho, ang piloto, hindi niya madi-distinguish or categorically identify or positively say na yung ulap na nasa harap niya walang volcanic ash na lumulutang. At mag-accumulate yun sa makina, matutunaw, and then magi-ingest sa makina. So, definitely, pag may nakita tayong presence ng ganon, we suspend. For the safety of passengers and the flight, we have no choice but to suspend. It's safer on the ground, safer to wait. Ngayon, under this current situation, we advise airlines to avoid the volcanic area. Not only the national airlines, but all foreign airlines flying over the Philippines to avoid that area. At saka, ini-establish din ho nila kung anong ihip ng hangin sa taas. So, kung pakaliwa siya, dito ka sa kabila magdaan. Ganun ho ang proseso. Ganun ho. At saka sinasabi ko nga kanina, na kasama ho yan sa training syllabus ng piloto, yung when encountering such as this volcanic ash. Pangalawa ho, ganun din ang accumulation sa runway. Kahit na wala sa taas, kung hindi malinis ang runway, papasok pa rin ho siya sa makina, so makakasira pa rin ho siya. You know.
Okay.
Meanwhile, personnel of the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, continue to conduct maritime patrol along the vicinity waters of Taal Lake to warn local fishermen about going into fishing ventures in the area amid Taal Volcano's eruption. Take a look. The residents in Batangas are highly discouraged to go back to their houses, more so to catch fish in Taal Lake due to the imminent danger caused by the ongoing calamity in South Luzon.
Kahit na po, pwede po, hindi na po pwede. Saka na lang, medyo, hindi natin na po, labog ka na. Nandito po kanina. Hindi pa po sa ibang area. Nakikiusap po kami. Kung pwede po, bumalik po na kayo. Balik po.
And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Tungkulin ng MTRCB ang
A volcano erupted on an uninhabited island in the Galapagos, Ecuadorian authorities said, spewing lava on the ecologically sensitive environment. La Cumbre volcano on Fernandina Island, one of the youngest in the archipelago, began erupting Sunday evening, Galapagos National Park officials said in a statement. The 1,467-meter-high volcano has a crack along its southeastern flank and a lava flow descends to the coast, PNG added. The island is home to a number of species, including iguanas, penguins, flightless cormorants, snakes, and an endemic rat, and has very important ecological value, PNG said. Before the eruption, an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.7 was felt, according to the local Ecuadorian Geophysical Institute, followed by 29 aftershocks. The volcano also erupted in June 2018.
And hopes of containing Australia's months-long bushfire crisis rose with heavy rain forecast. But toxic smoke in Melbourne disrupted warm-up events for the year's first tennis Grand Slam. Take a look. Cool weather over recent days had already given some respite for exhausted firefighters spread out across vast swaths of the country, allowing some of the biggest blazes to be brought under control. Optimism was further boosted on Tuesday with heavy rain forecast for some of the hot spots in the most populated eastern states of New South Wales and Victoria. The rain was set to begin across eastern Australia on Wednesday and last through the weekend, according to government meteorologists. However, dozens of fires remained out of control, and with many weeks of hot weather still expected throughout the rest of Australia's summer, there was no suggestion the crisis would completely end soon. Toxic smoke from the blazes also blew overnight into the Victorian capital of Melbourne, which is due to stage the Australian Open tennis tournament beginning next week. Now, pollution in Melbourne, which is normally ranked as among the world's most livable cities, was rated hazardous, and health authorities warned people to stay indoors. World number one Rafael Nadal and other stars abandoned outdoor practice sessions and hit indoors. But Australian Open qualifying rounds went ahead after a 2-hour delay in the morning, causing anger and confusion for some players who said matches should have been cancelled for the day. Slovenian Dalila Jakupovic, ranked 201 in the world, had to retire from her match after suffering a coughing fit, and then she later blamed the smoke.
Yeah, for the players, yeah, it should be suspended, but yeah, I'm not happy at all. Like, it was like I asked for the day off for coming to the matches today. But it would be a shame, kind of a shame. Like, we already got schedules. A lot of people got like holidays just for coming here for the tournament.
Usually when we come to Melbourne, the air is clear. But today it's very misty, sort of misty. We'll do other things. But of course for the Tennis Open, if it doesn't go on, will be very, very disappointing.
A climate scientist at the University of New South Wales says she is not surprised by the bushfires that have ripped through Australia's southeast. Watch this.
Climate scientists knew this was going to happen at some point, whether it was now or 10 years from now. We were going to get this perfect storm, and it was going to be pretty horrible. We dodged a bullet a couple of years ago when we had a hot summer then, but it was eventually going to transpire. I think the interesting thing moving forward into the future, climate variability will have less of a role. So the influence of climate change on these types of bushfires will be ever stronger, which is quite concerning. But again, unfortunately, it's not surprising. As a climate scientist, I'm devastated these fires have happened, particularly in my own country, but I'm also not surprised because we knew it was going to happen, and these projections and understanding of the climate system have been formulated for the last, 30 or so years. It's not going to be good, that's for certain. If we don't curb our emissions, if we don't limit warming to 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius, it can only get worse. There might be a limit as to how much worse it can get, but it will be a lot worse than what it is now. Particularly in 2019, we saw our lowest rainfall on record for an entire year. So that drought has exacerbated the drying of the fuel. And then on top of that, we've had a couple of climate variability cycles be in their phase. That means drier weather and less rainfall. So that was the Indian Ocean dipole and also the southern annular mode. So they kind of amplified each other, as well as the drought, as well as the effect of climate change, to create this perfect storm of extreme conditions that led to these really catastrophic bushfires. They're completely out of the normal. We've never seen anything like them on record before. So that includes the amount of area burnt, the number of animals that we've lost, the timing of the year. So we've seen parts of Australia been burning for a good 6 or more months. So the fire season is a lot longer. How dry it's been, how these fires have interacted with the atmosphere and how many times that's occurred, and that they're really quite extreme fires. There are so many things extreme and unprecedented about these fires, it's ridiculous. So these bushfires aren't a one-off, unfortunately. We probably won't see them occur with this ferocity in the next few years, maybe even the next decade, but we absolutely expect to see more like this as the climate continues to warm, absolutely. So something that we need to remember is the increasing nature of extremes is a worldwide thing under climate change. What we've experienced in Australia has been predicted, but it's also likely to happen elsewhere. It may not necessarily be a catastrophic bushfire, it could be a heat wave, it could be an intense tropical cyclone, it could be a huge drought. So these types of extremes are more likely under climate change. So what you do in your daily life will likely be impacted by some sort of extreme at some point.
Jakarta's governor has been hit with a lawsuit filed by residents of the sprawling city after torrential rain sparked floods and landslides that killed dozens and left thousands homeless, according to a lawyer on Tuesday. More than 200 flood victims are seeking a total of 43 billion rupiah, or $3 million in compensation in the class action, which was filed Monday in the Jakarta District Court. The suit claims Governor Anies Baswedan was responsible for failing to provide the megacity with a proper early warning system and effective emergency measures to minimize deaths and financial losses. The disaster caused at least $72 million in damage and monetary losses, according to business lobby, the Indonesian Indigenous Entrepreneurs Association. Whole neighborhoods in the capital, a megalopolis home to around 30 million people, were submerged by floodwaters that forced tens of thousands into temporary shelters after torrential rains that began on New Year's Eve. It was the city's deadliest flooding in years.
An enormous sinkhole swallowed a bus and pedestrians in China, sparking an explosion, killing 6 people and leaving 10 more missing, state media said Tuesday. Footage showed people at a bus stop running from the collapsing road as the bus, jetting into the air, sank halfway into the ground. Several people disappeared into the sinkhole as it spread, including what appeared to be a child. The incident outside the hospital also triggered an explosion inside the hole. The incident occurred at around 5:30 p.m. on Monday in Xining, the capital of Qinghai province, CCTV said, adding 16 people had been taken to hospital. Sinkholes are not unknown in China, where they are often blamed on construction works and the country's rapid pace of development. In 2016, at least 3 people fell into a huge sinkhole in central Henan province, which swallowed a section of road and passerby. An initial investigation showed the collapse might have been caused by water pipes buried under the road breaking up due to the rain.
The World Health Organization, or WHO, is working with officials in Thailand and China following the reported confirmation of a new strain of coronavirus in a person in Thailand. The traveler from Wuhan, China, was identified by Thai officials on January 8 and hospitalized that day. Officials say the patient is now recovering. Last month's newly detected strain of coronavirus infections transmitted between animals and people has so far infected more than 40 people in China, 7 of whom are in a severe condition. Initial cases centered around a market in Wuhan which sells live birds, fish, and other animals. The possibility of cases being identified in other countries was not unexpected, according to the WHO on Monday, and reinforces the call for ongoing active monitoring and preparedness in other countries, according to the UN Health Agency. WHO reiterates that it's essential that investigations continue in China to identify the source of the outbreak and those animals carrying the new strain.
Iran announced Tuesday its first arrests over the shooting down of a Ukrainian airliner last week as it struggles to contain the fallout from the disaster that sparked 3 days of protests. The Ukraine International Airlines plane was brought down by a missile shortly after takeoff on Wednesday, killing all 176 passengers and crew on board. Iran has come under mounting international pressure to ensure its investigation into the tragedy is full and transparent. The authorities' handling of the air disaster has also angered some Iranians. Videos posted online Monday purported to show hundreds of protesters taking to the streets for a 3rd consecutive night, apparently shouting slogans against the Islamic Republic. At a televised news conference, the judiciary announced the first arrests have been made over the calamitous blunder without specifying how many. Spokesman Gholam Hossein Ismaili said extensive investigations have been carried out and some people have been arrested. The announcement came shortly after President Hassan Rouhani said everyone responsible for the disaster must be punished.
Meanwhile, across Canada on Sunday, thousands gathered to remember the Canadians who perished when a Ukrainian airliner was shot down in Iran. Eagle News correspondent Thomas I. Likeness attended the memorial in the western Canadian city of Edmonton, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke to the mourners. Take a look.
A standing room only crowd of more than 2,000 people packed a community sports center to pay tribute to those who died. Many more who could not be accommodated watched the memorial online. The mood was somber during the 2.5-hour event. Among those attending, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Trudeau offered these thoughts to the mourners.
While no words can ease the pain, the grief, the outrage, it is my sincere hope that you can find some comfort in knowing that all Canadians stand with you.
Trudeau also added that Iran must be held to account for shooting down a civilian plane.
We will continue to work with our partners to ensure that a full, transparent investigation is conducted. I want to assure all families and all Canadians we will not rest until there are answers. We will not rest until there is justice.
The grief in Edmonton was intense.
I sit with confusion, shock, anger, and the hopeless, agonizing pain of loss as the unsutured wounds of bereavement are torn open by the stories I hear day after day.
13 of the 57 passengers aboard the ill-fated aircraft lived in the Alberta capital. 10 of them were professors and students and family members from the University of Alberta. The other 3 were a doctor and her 2 adult daughters. University President Dr. David Turpin reflected upon the losses.
The individuals lost to us were smart, creative thinkers and leaders. Some were at the height of their careers, others only just beginning to unleash their potential.
A slideshow gave those who attended an opportunity to put faces to the names of the victims. Following the mournful strains of an Arabic folk song, friends and colleagues of the dead honored them with tributes. For them, the healing will take time. In the meantime, they're remembering the legacy of those they lost. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Libyan strongman Khalifa Haftar left Moscow on Tuesday without signing a ceasefire agreement aimed at ending 9 months of fighting, leaving the future of a fragile truce uncertain. The commander's abrupt departure in the early hours of Tuesday was a setback for an international diplomatic push in recent days, though Moscow insisted it would continue mediation efforts. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who first brokered the Libya truce deal with President Vladimir Putin of Russia last week, warned he would teach a lesson to Haftar if his forces resumed fighting.
Meşru yönetimine ve Libya'daki kardeşlerimize saldırılarını sürdürmesi halinde darbeci Hafter'e hak ettiği dersi vermekten de asla geri durmayacağız.
Haftar and his allies were in Moscow on Monday for talks with the UN-recognized government headed by Fayez al-Sarraj that is based in Tripoli. Sarraj's government has been under attack since last April from forces loyal to Haftar, who is based in the east of the oil-rich North African country with his own loyalist politicians. The two sides had agreed to the ceasefire that took effect at the weekend and were in Moscow to sign a long-term agreement. Talks raised hopes of an end to the latest fighting to wreck Libya since a 2011 NATO-backed uprising killed longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Russian state news agency RIA Novosti quoted a source in Haftar's stronghold Benghazi as saying he did not sign because the agreement did not spell out a timeline for disbanding groups allied with Sarraj's government of national accord. The GNA has signed agreements with Ankara assigning Turkey rights over a vast area of the gas-rich eastern Mediterranean in a deal denounced by France, Greece, Egypt, and Cyprus. Russia has been accused of backing pro-Haftar forces, which are also supported by the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, all regional rivals of Turkey. Several hundred Russian mercenaries are reported to be in Libya supporting Haftar. President Putin said any Russians in the country are not in Moscow's pay.
To other news now, the Philippine Coast Guard on Tuesday welcomed the China Coast Guard, or CCG, in a ceremony to kick off the first ever maritime exercise between the two countries held in the Philippines.
We should always cooperate with each other and no confrontations between each other.
我们这次秉承的就是和平、合作、合作、和平、和谐这样的宗旨。
This time we uphold the philosophy of peace, cooperation, and harmony. All the nations in this world to be on the express of development of China.
We share the same thought. We share the same vision.
我们的思想和看事物的角度是一样的。
Since we are neighbor, we should not allow South China Sea to divide us, but instead make South China Sea to bridge our two people, our two countries.
The CCG Sport Call in Manila is the first ever maritime exercises between the two countries held in the Philippines, intended to enhance cooperation and understanding between the Republic of the Philippines and the People's Republic of China, specifically in the conduct of patrol operations. PCG Commandant Admiral Joel Garcia said the PCG's efforts to build its relationship with the CCG was in compliance with President Duterte's directive to develop strong diplomatic relations with its Chinese counterpart. Meanwhile, China's Coast Guard donated 600 pieces of N95 masks and boxes of food packs for victims of the Taal volcano phreatic eruption last Sunday. Now these will be transported to affected areas in Batangas.
A French Catholic priest accused of abusing dozens of Boy Scouts over 20 years has gone on trial in a packed courtroom in Lyon a day later than scheduled because of lawyers' strike. Bernard Preynat, 74, was defrocked by the church last July, almost 30 years after the last of the alleged crimes was committed. He is accused of assaulting boys in his care when he was a scout leader between 1971 and 1991. Alleged victims have claimed he touched and kissed them and forced them into reciprocal fondling. 10 of his accusers, who were aged between 7 and 15 at the time, are civil parties to the trial, along with several victims' associations. The case first came to light in 2015 when a former Boy Scout went public with allegations that Preynat had abused him as a child 25 years earlier. A trickle of initial testimony soon turned into a deluge, with more than 80 other people coming forward with allegations of abuse by Preynat over a 20-year period starting in the 1970s. The allegations against Bernard Preynat sparked the biggest crisis in the French church in decades, and last year saw a cardinal convicted of covering up the alleged crimes.
Iglesia Ni Cristo congregations in southern Ontario, Canada, held a simultaneous aid to humanity. Our EBC correspondents, Rex Adam, Candy Balingit, for this report.
Once again, inspired by the initiative of the FYM Foundation, the members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ here in southern Ontario, Canada, continue to spread the act of caring and sharing to their less fortunate fellow men in unity with their members throughout the globe.
Ang ating Panginoon Kristo mismo may sabi na ibigin ng Diyos ng buong puso, buong kaluluwa, buong lakas, at ang kasunod nun, ibigin ang kapwa gaya ng pag-ibig sa sarili. Kaya hindi po natin titigilan ang gawain ito na ipinagagawa sa atin dahil sa ito ay napakahalagang utos na matupad ng lahat ng kaanib sa loob ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
Through FYM Foundation, Iglesia Ni Cristo has gained exemplary and meritorious contributions through their aid to humanity projects in Canada and around the world.
Well, it is a commandment of God to help the poor and needy whenever you can. And this is an opportunity that we get to do such a thing.
The foundation aims to be the leading beacon of hope for people. They offer spiritual healing and comfort, but they also realize that people throughout the world need tangible assistance like food, shelter, or the basic necessities. And that's what Iglesia Ni Cristo has been striving to address the past years.
I feel that this is a very positive place, and it's honestly changed the way I look at the world, for sure. Like, it gives me hope for the world. It gives me positive.
Over the years, their humanitarian effort has set its sights in the global campaign against poverty.
The members unite to share kindness and love with their less fortunate neighbors in various locations around southern Ontario. The volunteers extend their help in 3 different clusters.
Location 1 is taking place at Tomken Business Center in Mississauga, where members from Brampton, Norval, Milton, and Mississauga East have volunteered to support this advocacy.
And I'm happy to hear about Jesus, because since I came to this country, I've not been to any church. I'm trying to know where to go to hear the word of God. But I'm happy to be here, and the charitable organization too. I'm so happy I have lots of gifts with me.
Cluster 2 is happening at the Brantford Convention Center with participation from the congregations of Hamilton, Burlington, Mississauga North and West, Guelph, London, and Niagara Falls. A deep sense of brotherhood, community engagement, and vibrant network of people is observed among their volunteers.
God is obviously blessing you guys here at Pastor and so. So just keep doing what he's doing. I don't know if you speak Spanish, but I say Gloria a Dios, Bendito Señor. I mean, it's amazing. It's definitely amazing.
Location 3 is composed of the Windsor and Leamington congregations. These congregations are approximately a 3.5-hour drive from the Mississauga area, yet the members willingly and devotedly shared their time, effort, and resources to help those who are in need within the area.
We were not only able to share our faith, but we were also able to offer them a chance to offset the other worries that they may have in this life. Not saying our care packages will save their lives or it will solve their problems, but if anything, it will be one less thing that they would be able to worry about. So praises be unto God.
But the best help that we can give to our fellow man is not just the food, but more importantly, God's word. That's why we have evangelical mission.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo, through FYM Foundation, is here to add armor and support to their fight against poverty.
It is their vision to be one of the leading charitable institutions in the world by providing services for people to lead a healthy and productive life and promoting community development.
Salamat sa pamamahalang inilagay ng Diyos sa iglesia na pinangungunahan tayo sa gawain ito na isang dakilang gawain para matulungan ng lahat ng mga tao na nangangailangan. Kaya ang mga kapatid ay patuloy na pasasakop at makikipagkaisa sa kilusan ito.
Reaching out to those who are in need, not just materially, but most of all, spiritually, is what the members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo worldwide aim to achieve for their fellow men.
In Mississauga, Candy Billingit, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
And in Leamington, Ryan Michelina, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
In Brantford, this is Rex Adam, Eagle News Service, 1 with 25.
Thank you, EBC Canada Bureau.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also, check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here on Eagle News, I'm Alma Angeles, and
we're
1 with 25.